I've been asked a few times now what my thoughts are on the recent first Republican debate. Obviously, Donald Trump stirred up a lot of controversy. He skipped the debate entirely, unlike in 2016 when he was very famously or infamously on the stage berating his opponents. Now he's not even showing up to the debate. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on that, my thoughts on the status of the Republican Party, what my thoughts on the candidates are, and what does it mean for Bitcoin. And before I share my thoughts, I think this clip sums up really nicely my perspective in coming and approaching this problem here. So let me show you this clip. This is not from the recent debates, but this is from one in 2016, last time around that Donald Trump's name was being thrown around about with the first Republican debate. So let's take a quick look at this.
I will tell you this. What I am far and away greater than an entertainer is a businessman, and that's the kind of mindset this country needs to bring it back, because we owe $19 trillion right now, $19 trillion, and you need this kind of thinking to bring our country back. And believe me, my temperament is very good, very calm, but we will be respected outside of this country. We are not respected now.
Mr. Senator Paul.
That clip pretty much sums up my thoughts. Not an endorsement of Donald Trump, but did you hear that number, 19 trillion? 19 trillion. And now we're at 33 trillion, just under 33 trillion. What's my point here? My point is that Donald Trump's big campaign promise was that he was going to run the country like a businessman. And, well, he has, along with his following president, Joe Biden, along with the previous president, Barack Obama, and Bush, and back and back and back. They've all run the country like a business, except this business is bankrupt, insolvent, and should have completely collapsed to the ground a very long time ago. Except the reason we're able to keep going is because we can delay our insolvency, we can delay our bankruptcy by creating new currency. Apple can't create new currency. If Tesla or Amazon or some other megatech corporation begins to become insolvent, they can't just print more shares to pay the difference and enforce their clients and customers with the barrel of a gun to continue to use their businesses' services. So what's my view on the Republican debate? What's my view on Donald Trump? Do I think that Trump's going to save the country, or Kennedy's going to save the country, or Biden's going to save the country? No, I don't. I don't think so. Because Mr. Trump here on stage just a few short years ago was talking about a $19 trillion debt that the U.S. owes. And again, here we're looking at a number 73% higher. We're looking at just under $33 trillion here, $32.89 trillion. This is probably going to increase by about $1.3 trillion by the end of the year. And probably next time we have this debate stage going around with everyone having a shouting match at each other on the stage, we'll probably be looking at $50 trillion, if not surpassed $50 trillion. That's just the brutal truth. It actually gets a little worse, too, because this is just the number we tend to throw around on debate stages. We're not talking about the real problem here. The real problem is not the $32 trillion in national debt we have. The real problem are unfunded liabilities. This isn't just the money we owe today, but it's the liabilities we have no plan to pay back that are coming down very rapidly in the near future here. And this number is significantly higher. It is $193.5 trillion. It's increasing by about $500,000 every second here, so you can see these are the hundred thousands. So let's see if we go from here to here, that's roughly $1 million. That's 24/7, 365. We're adding $1 million every couple seconds here. That's tens of billions of dollars every day that we're adding in these unfunded liabilities. And just to give some more examples, according to the U.S. government, the Social Security will run out by 2033, maybe before, maybe less. These estimates get revised all the time. For example, Medicare was projected to become insolvent by 2026. Thankfully, that has been projected out now to 2028. So we just bought ourselves 2 years for Medicare. Maybe we'll buy ourselves more time as things continue to progress. However, we're in peacetime. We are at record levels. And my concern is what happens if there is a recession, what happens if there is tightening liquidity, and we decide to redo our pandemic-era policies of stimulus, quantitative easing, expanding the balance sheet, and providing liquidity across the entire market. That pretty much undoes all our optimistic expansions. And now we have 5 years buying our time. Maybe we may have less. So do I know when things are going to get really bad? No, I don't. I think things are pretty bad already, and I do think they will get significantly worse. But my larger point here, one way or another, if you're going to ask me what I think about the Republican debates, if you're going to ask me what I think about Donald Trump, if you're going to ask me what I think about Biden or Democrats or any politician, my answer is going to be the same. Some politicians, I think, do better things than other politicians. Some politicians do significantly worse things than others. There are some politicians I really agree with, others I really don't. But one way or another, none of them are going to be able to solve our debt and our sovereign insolvency crisis, because it is not a political issue, it is a mathematical issue. It doesn't matter if you put a Mr. Genius billionaire Donald Trump in there with all of his business experience in there, he still has to print more money than the previous president, okay? Donald Trump, okay, Joe Biden obviously has dwarfed his record, but Donald Trump surpassed Obama in how much stimulus and how much money was injected into the economy. And you can blame the virus all you want. You can blame the lockdowns all you want. But the fact of the matter is, it's what he has to do. He has to print. In the same way that Bush has to print to fund these wars and proxy wars overseas for the United States to defend its petrodollar, to defend the U.S. dollar. In the same way that Obama has to defend entitlements and expand entitlements. He has to expand them. It's what has to happen. In the same way with Trump, he has to expand these balance sheets. You know, and this is what I often say with Jerome Powell, who's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Is that at a certain point, the chair he's sitting in is so powerful that its power is beginning to influence him. Like, Jerome Powell doesn't have a choice, really. Yeah, sure, he has a choice of how things go down, but he can't really choose the end result. In the same way, you can debate which president is better or worse. You can debate where the money's going to get funneled or where the money's going to channel. You can debate if the lever that prints money should go this way or that way, but one way or another, it's going to move, and it's going to create currency, and it's going to escalate the insolvency, and it's going to escalate the debt spiral that the United States happens to find itself in. And this is not anti-American rhetoric. I'm a patriot as much as anyone else is. But the reality is, this is a big problem for us here in America. And thankfully, it's not as bad as the rest of the world. If you look at Italy, you look at Greece, you look at Japan, you look at China, you look at all sorts of other nations, many of which are G7 or G20 nations, they're in significantly worse shape than we are. Their politicians are significantly more extreme than we are. And their debt spiral is unwinding significantly faster than we are here in the United States. And thankfully, that's because we're a much bigger country, we have a much larger economy, we have far bigger guns, and so our debt implosion is probably going to happen slower than the rest of the world. But do I care about the debates? No, I don't, really. It's just a bunch of theater. Group A fighting Group B as they debate how they can each fight Group C, and at the end of the day, it's pretty much just theatrics. It's just the mathematical problem. And so, yeah, maybe Donald Trump will be around in the next debate. Maybe other politicians will be around in the next debate. But that will be 70, 80% higher, if not even more dramatically higher next time. And it's just going to continue indefinitely until total faith and credit and trust in that political currency is lost. You know, caring about debates, caring about politicians is just caring about different politicians that are all sitting atop a political problem of a political currency. And so if you're going to debate which one's better or worse, I mean, yeah, maybe you're right. But even if you're right, okay, the political stage at which they're standing atop is shrinking in relative value compared to the electric grid and the mathematical stage at which Bitcoin is. And we're building on top of that. So no, I don't really give much thought to that. I don't really care much about that. But there are certain politicians I would rather see in office than others. But it's definitely not one of the top things I want to see. It's definitely not one of my top priorities. Let's just put it that way. And therefore, not a lot of mental energy goes there. So I hope this has been insightful to you. If you are interested in paying less and less attention to the political theater and the political spectacle that's going on today, and you want to learn about Bitcoin and Bitcoin specifically, I would really recommend this video's sponsor, the book Bitcoin Evangelism by Brian DeMint. I want to thank Brian for sponsoring this video. People like Brian help me enable me to make more content. This is the book. This is the cover of the book. What it looks like. You can find it on Amazon. I'll show it in just a minute. But to cover what the book talks about here, if we go chapter by chapter, you have chapter 1 with resistance and adoption. It straight out helps you get familiar with the terms, the specific qualities of sound money, and the new quality that Bitcoin brings. What makes Bitcoin so special, building off of that in chapter 5. differentiates Bitcoin from other digital assets, securities, and cryptos. He talks about the problems with the current financial system and political currencies, like I've been outlining in this video, history of former political currencies, and historical debt spirals that we're looking at, and then expanding on their resources where people can go, the downsides of Bitcoin, because obviously there are no perfect solutions, only trade-offs, and going on why Bitcoin is a better solution compared to political currencies. Again, that is Brian DeMint's book, Bitcoin Evangelism. You can find it on Amazon just by searching for it. You can have Kindle, audiobook, hardcover, or paperback. More expensive option, more cheap option, user-friendly. So I really encourage you to check that out if you're just learning about Bitcoin, trying to understand what makes Bitcoin unique compared to other digital assets. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what's the takeaway from this video? Takeaway from this video is you should probably be spending less time caring about what the politicians are doing or what the politicians are saying, and spending more time caring about what is Bitcoin, what makes this thing unique, and why is it that these Bitcoiners are so convinced that Bitcoin as a paradigm, Bitcoin as a protocol, Bitcoin as a platform is going to become more and more valuable exponentially, indefinitely, compared to the political currency system and the political people and talking heads atop of that just yell at each other, debating which way the money printer should flow, when the Bitcoiners say there shouldn't be one at all. So please, don't spend so much of your life watching clickbaits. Don't spend so much of your time reading political headlines or controversy. It's just noise. Just tune it out. Focus on the things that really matter. Your health, your time, your family, your career, where you want to be in the future, learning from your past, learning about Bitcoin, learning about how to save money, learning about how to balance your household, and learning to prepare for the future, because the future is coming. We have less technologically in common with the future than we do with the past. So that's my encouragement. Spend less time on the noise, spend more time on the signal. And like I said, Brian DeMint's book, Bitcoin Evangelism, is an excellent place for you to start learning about the signal. And once you've ordered that book, link in the description, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel here and continue watching this content. Hopefully it continues to be helpful for you.